My name is Robin Dorfman. I am a program associate with the Office of Global Engagement, and I work to develop international internship programs for students here at NC State. And I just want to thank you all for joining myself as well as a couple of my colleagues here today to talk about some new internship options as well as some other virtual global experiences. We'll be talking about how to apply and understand how a virtual global internship works. You'll also get to hear from Maya Patel, who is a student who recently completed a virtual global internship, as well as a couple of people in the study abroad office. So George Doe is the incoming exchange coordinator and graduate assistant in the study abroad office. And he's going to be speaking a little bit about a virtual global exchange option in Quito, Ecuador. And we also have Julia Law, the associate director for the study abroad office, on this session with us, and she'll be able to help answer some questions that you may have toward the end of the session. So a couple of housekeeping items. I do have everyone muted. There's a good number of us on the call, so to try to keep background noise to a minimum, I've done that, but you can unmute yourself if you have a question. The other option that I recommend is if you do have a question to put it in the chat box. We will have time for Q&A at the end of the session, so I'll be looking those over. So as you think of things, if you want to put them in the chat box, we will get to those after the presentation. I do also need to let you know that the presentation is being recorded. So you are aware that you're consenting to being recorded. It will be available on the Study Abroad website for future viewing. So if you need to head off early, or if you have a friend who couldn't join you today, let them know that they will be able to get a recording of this session to look back over at another time. I am also doing a second presentation. We will be doing this again on Monday from 3 to 4 p.m. It is a similar session. We will have a different student speaking, but other than that, same information. So again, if you want to share that with anyone who might have missed today. So with that, we will get started. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what a virtual global internship is and what makes it a virtual global internship. So like all other internships, it is full or part-time work experience with a company or organization that is located in another country. But there are some specific details about a virtual internship that I want to point out to you. The first is that we do ensure that you have an online connection to your colleagues and those that you're working with in another country. So there will be face-to-face communication with your colleagues regularly, as well as regular supervision from the person that you're working with. You'll be meeting at least once a week via Zoom or some other technology to speak with them. The second thing is that we ensure that in these internships, you have clearly defined tasks, projects, and goals. So one advantage of being virtual is that often when you're an intern in an office, you may be asked to do tasks that aren't really associated with the project outcomes. So it may be making copies or pulling files, getting coffee, things like that, which doesn't happen when you're doing a virtual internship. So students can really focus on very specific project-oriented tasks and accomplish things in real time for the organization that they're working for. One of the most important pieces for us in a virtual global internship is the inclusion of cultural activities. So we don't want you just to be doing an internship that happens to be with a company in another country. We really want you to be engaged with that country. So all of the programs that we highlight focus on providing cultural experiences and connections to the people that you're working with and the country that you're working in. So that could include things like lunch and learns with your colleagues. It might be online classes like a cooking class or a dance class. It could be a virtual tour of a city or a museum in the city where your internship is located. So we really do try to ensure that there is that cultural engagement for you so that you're getting a well-rounded global experience. Now, all of these internships are unpaid. But there is the option to earn academic credit for these, which we will talk a little bit more about later in the presentation. So what are the benefits or impact of completing an internship? Well, first, you will have the opportunity to develop a global professional network. So particularly if you're interested in travel at a later date, whether through the same internship, a study abroad, or working in another country later on. This will help you get started in developing that global network for yourself. Second, as I mentioned, you will be contributing to the professional work of the organization. So these aren't just intern separate kind of tasks that you're doing. These are all things that impact the company directly, and you will have an opportunity to develop your resume based on the professional work that you get done. Third, you will have an opportunity to develop a lot of transferable skills. In particular, some of the things I like to point out are time management. You will be working very often with a company that is located in a different time zone, and that will require you to think a lot about how you organize your time, how you get your work done, have some flexibility in getting that work done, but really being able to manage both your work time and your schoolwork while you're doing your internship. You'll also obviously have the opportunity to develop a lot of remote work skills, which is something that is becoming more important in the workplace. And particularly at times like this, being able to work remotely and communicate with people remotely is going to be key to future work. As I mentioned, you'll get to gain that global perspective. So regardless of what country your internship is located in, it will help open up your thinking about communicating with other cultures, how different workplaces function in different countries, and really gain that global perspective. And the last is personal growth. You'll have a lot of opportunities to consider how you can develop yourself as an individual as well as your career goals. So you'll be able to identify your strengths and your interests and build that resume for yourself in planning for your future. So why are we recommending virtual internships? Well, the most obvious is it's an opportunity to remain globally engaged while travel is not an option. Unfortunately, it's not what any of us had planned. When 2020 started, we didn't imagine that we would be offering anything virtual, but here we are. And it's obviously a unique situation. And while virtual internships don't replace an in-person travel experience, we do really believe that it is a great way to connect and to build your skills while travel is not an option. It does give you the opportunity to work from the safety and comfort of your home, so you can remain engaged while making sure that there's no risks to you. One of the other advantages of virtual is that it makes global engagement accessible to students who may not have otherwise had the opportunity to travel. So there may be medical reasons, there may be family commitments, there may be other time commitments, financial concerns that keep students from having the opportunity to travel globally. And this is a way for them to get that engagement in a way that allows you to participate while not having to travel. As I mentioned, it does require, but also offer a flexible work schedule. So you may have to get used to working in another time zone and adjusting some of the schedule and the way you do things, but it does give you the opportunity to complete an internship while also doing your schoolwork because you don't have to be a set number of hours in an office setting. So it provides that flexibility to you. And then last were the couple of things that I mentioned. It does give you the opportunity for that global network to be developed and that cultural awareness and growth as you move forward. So how would you select a program to participate in? So let me give you a little background. There are lots of programs out there that offer virtual internships. Just about every company that offers a study abroad or internship program has pivoted to virtual options. So in the Office of Study Abroad and Global Engagement, we sat down and looked at some of the different programs that were available. And we have selected 6 program providers who work with NC State to promote virtual internships. And later on in the presentation, I will show you how to find those 6 programs, but we've narrowed it down to these 6 that we feel are the best representation of a variety of countries, different internship options, as well as being available to students with a cultural perspective. So it will help you sort of think about what you can do. There are program providers available other than these, but we like to focus on these ones. So things to consider when you're looking at the different programs. First, think about what your career goals are. You obviously want to find an internship that either fits with your major or minor, or gives you an opportunity to explore something that maybe you're not studying, but you might be interested in. but you do want to be thinking about what professional connections you want to make in the future when planning for your internship. The second thing to look at is, what is your personal goal with your internship? Are there certain things that you want to accomplish? For instance, say that you are a Spanish minor or you speak Spanish and you really want an opportunity to practice that. You may want to consider an internship in a Spanish-speaking country so you can talk with your colleagues in that target language. There are also certain programs that offer language classes, so that is also an opportunity to keep in mind. The next thing to consider is the length of the program. There are lots of options for timing. Some internships are as short as 4 weeks and as long as a full semester, up to 16 weeks. And you can work as little as 10 hours and up to 40 hours a week. There's a wide range depending on the program. The minimum number of hours and weeks for you to earn credit for your programs will be up to your department. So it's important that you speak with your advisor about that when you're thinking about the length of your program. Now, these programs do have a cost associated with them, and there is a range depending on the length of the program, which program you're applying for, and whether or not you're applying for credit. But generally, they're somewhere between $1,400 and $2,900. And people have asked us, well, why am I paying for a program that I'm not traveling on? But there are some real costs associated with being a provider for these programs. The first is that every internship is an individualized placement. So you will meet with an internship advisor at the provider company to talk with them about what your career goals are, and they will be working to find you a very specific placement that best suit your needs. Other costs include career advising and skill development that you'll be working on, the networking opportunities that you have as part of the program, as well as the cultural programming and the inclusion of academic credit. So that's where the costs are coming from. The last thing to think about is the location of the company or organization. Again, if there's a specific country that you're interested in focusing on, or a particular area of the world that you would like to make connections in, then that is something to consider as well. And different program providers offer internships in different countries. So to apply for these programs, you can go to the Virtual Global Internships website, and I'm gonna click over to that now just to show you where you can find the information. My computer's running really slow today, so I apologize. But if you go into Virtual Global Internships, you'll see there's a short video that you can watch about internships, some of the benefits. And then if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see the 6 programs that we are highlighting. Those are the different provider companies that we work with. So what you can do is click on a particular company, and it will take you to the program brochure of that company. So you can get some more information about the kind of internships they offer, what the provider can tell you about, and then you can see here where you can click on to get to their website specific to their internships, and then the application instructions. So for all internships, you will need to apply directly through the program provider, and each provider website has a link to the application process. So the first thing you'll do is look at those providers. And then if you keep scrolling down, you can see the dates for applying for programs for spring and summer of 2021. And then you'll see at the bottom, there's an Apply Now button. That is the second application that you need to complete, which is for the PAC Abroad application. To get credit for these internships, you do need to apply through the Study Abroad application as well. So you will be completing 2 applications. So what you'll do is go to that site, look at the different program options, and then once you select a program, you will complete that provider application and then also that PAC Abroad application. And I want to take note of the application deadlines. For spring of 2021, the deadline is January 4th, 2021, and May 1st for summer. Those are the application deadlines for Study Abroad, but each provider has its own application deadline. So it's important that you look at those sooner than later. Some of them are before the end of the year. And so you want to make sure that you're getting in your provider application early enough to make sure you can also complete that PAC abroad application. So as I mentioned, you can earn academic credit for these programs. You would need to apply through Study Abroad to be able to earn that credit, and you would have to fill out a form to apply for that credit. It's important that you speak with your academic advisor in your department about what kind of credit you can earn and what you need to include in your internship to be able to earn that credit. And once you have that, then you can proceed with the application process. Once you complete your internship, you will submit a transcript which will be provided to you by the provider company, and they will give you the information that you need to apply that credit. Because these are pre-approved program, they all do provide official transcripts to receive credit. It is all transfer credit, so there are no grades associated with this, and it will not count toward your GPA. And you do, like I said, have to have approval of a faculty member or advisor, so make sure that you do that before you begin your internship. If you decide not to pursue credit for it, you do not need to complete a study abroad application. So I just want to make you aware of that as well. So as I said, there are costs associated with this, so I wanted to offer you some information about how to best fund your internship. We did get some good news that because travel is so restricted, unfortunately, in spring of 2021, students may be able to apply financial aid to this virtual opportunity if they are earning credit toward their degree. So that is something to speak a little bit more. Study Abroad has a lot more information on the financial aid piece, so they can speak with you in more detail about that. In addition to that, you should look into your colleges and departments to see if they have any scholarships that they are offering for these types of opportunities. And as well, there are some national grants and scholarship programs that you can apply for that allow you to use their funding for virtual internships. And that information can be found on the Study Abroad website under the funding tab. You can see all of the different options for getting that information. And then the last option, something to think about, is personal funding. So many students in the past for different study abroad options have raised money through family and friends through something like a GoFundMe page. So that's something for you to consider as well as an option for raising the money to participate in these internships. So I'm going to take a brief break now from the internship side of things to introduce George Doe, who, like I said, is in the Study Abroad office, and he's going to talk about a second option that we have that we're offering this spring for virtual exchange programs.
Yes, great. Thank you, Robin. I don't think I can share my, okay, there you go. Yeah, so thank you. So like I said, like Robin said, I'm George. I work with our Study Abroad office as a graduate assistant. And this upcoming semester, I'll be helping with some of the virtual experiences in the Study Abroad office. So with the virtual course exchange, so if you are looking for kind of that virtual experience or that global experience in place of an in-person experience, we are offering a course exchange. So much like how you would do it if we could go in person, you would pick a partner university that NC State is partnered with, and you would take a course there, or you would take, yeah, for this semester you would pick one course that the partner university is offering in basically in place of maybe a course that you would normally take at NC State. And so how that would work is there's a list of courses that you can find on the University of San Francisco de Quito website, and I can link that after. And then right now we're going through the courses to pre-approve them for academic credit, but if they aren't pre-approved, you can work with the Study Abroad office and your academic advisor to get that academic credit. You just have to make sure that you do that in advance, because you don't want to take the course and then not be able to get academic credit for it. And so a lot of the things that Robin said applies here. You would have to adjust to a new work schedule depending on, or a different course schedule depending on how that university or how that course is set up. Um, and then, of course, the benefit is that you get to study at a different university, even if it is virtual. And there is no additional program costs in comparison to the if you were to do it in person with travel, for example. There is a small there is an administrative cost tied to applying, which I believe is $150. Um, and yeah, and that is pretty much it. Sorry if that was out of order. If you're interested, you can click on the links that Julia has put in the chat, and that will show you kind of basically the brief overview. And you'll also be able to see some of the courses that are offered.
All right. Thank you, George. Sorry, I was flipping slides there unexpectedly. Didn't mean to be doing that. I'm still new to this Zoom world. So before we continue a little bit, we're going to actually have a student who can speak about her experience. I wanted to do a quick poll to see when people are thinking about traveling, or excuse me, not traveling, but about completing these virtual experiences. So I'm going to put up a poll just to get an idea based on who's on the call. Can you all see the poll? Okay. Okay. So we have a bit of a mix. I will share those. So a bit of a split, more people looking at summer 2021 versus spring, and then some not sure yet. So hopefully today's presentation will help answer a little bit of that for you. But these are options that we are planning to offer both in the spring and summer. We're hoping to have some other travel options in the summer as well, but these will still be available. Okay. So I wanted to share with you a couple of experiences that NC State students have had already. We have had several students participate in virtual internships in the summer and in this fall. So I'm not going to read through these directly, but you can look at them. But we have had sophomores, juniors, as well as a senior complete virtual global internships. And you will see from this and the next slide, it's been in a variety of majors and colleges, and they've done a variety of things with their internships. So the first person obviously working in finance, the second doing a digital marketing internship. We had somebody in the College of Design who will actually be speaking on Monday about her experience in textiles. She designed masks for a company in Spain. And then we do have today Maya Patel with us. She is a sophomore in the College of Engineering and the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. And she completed an internship this fall through a company in Australia. So Maya is going to speak a little bit about her experiences and how the virtual internship worked out for her. So Maya, I will let you take the lead on that.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So my name is Maya Patel. I'm currently a sophomore majoring in computer science and minoring in psychology. Over the past summer during quarantine, I participated in a remote internship through ISA because I wasn't able to study abroad like I had planned to, and I still wanted to get some experience. I thought it was a great opportunity specifically because not many other places were still offering internships, and I wanted to take advantage of what ISA was offering. So the way it worked was everyone chooses their top 3 areas of focus when applying, and they'll place you into groups of about 4 or 5 based on what your preferred area is. And you're not guaranteed to get a project that aligns perfectly with your preferences. And I actually wasn't, but I got so much more out of it than I anticipated. So the client we worked for was the CEO and founder of a relatively new ag tech company that was founded in Australia, but had its headquarters in California, which is where our client was located. We also worked with a mentor who was born and raised in Australia, and we got to meet with her weekly so she could guide us in creating deliverables that our client would be happy with. We met with our client weekly as well to show her what we had worked on so far and got feedback before submitting deliverables each week. As Robin talked about, meeting with our client and our mentor required flexibility because we were all in different time zones and had to work around all of our busy schedules. Additionally, because it was a global internship, during our orientation session, we talked a lot about Australian workplace culture and how it differs from ours. And we also received weekly emails about current events that were happening in Australia and learned about some of their cultural traditions. During our meetings with our mentor, we also had conversations about what was going on in Australia. We talked about the weather, how things are going with COVID. And so it kind of made it feel more like an international experience. The ISA program managers also hosted bi-weekly workshops about things like leadership, working in teams, and how to talk about your internship on your resume or in an interview. And I found these particularly helpful, and I still use that information when preparing for an interview. I was also introduced to some project management tools and websites that have been helpful even after the internship. Some of the biggest transferable skills that I gained were leadership, communication, teamwork, and time management. I learned a lot about myself, specifically understanding my leadership style and learning what I have to bring to the table in a team. When I went into this, I was not very confident in my leadership skills, but I learned that I'm actually a lot better at being a leader than I thought, and I was able to push myself to step out of my comfort zone and lead some of the meetings with our client to get that practice. I also learned how important it is to communicate often with the client to make sure we're on the same page about what their expectations are. So for anyone that's considering this, I would definitely recommend keeping an open mind about what you might be able to learn from it. It's important to know what you're hoping to get out of it and then go into it with that lens so you can find opportunities that will help you develop those skills. In my project, at the beginning, I had no idea that I'd be able to work on the skills I was hoping to because it was a marketing-based internship and I was hoping to do more computer science work, but I ended up being able to do some data analysis on their current customers and create some data visualizations. They also wanted us to make suggestions to their website. And so I got to learn some tools for web development and created website designs for their company to use, which was right up my alley and exactly what I was hoping to get out of it. So the biggest takeaway is that I learned how to work for a client and learned what my strengths are in the professional world and also what skills I'd like to develop more. And it was a really good experience to put on my resume and talk about in interviews, as well as preparing me for future internships and jobs.
Thank you, Maya. So Maya, I have a question for you. When you think about doing virtual versus in person, obviously it wasn't the same as what you were hoping to do when you had planned to go abroad. But what do you think you gained from being in a virtual experience?
I think it taught me a lot of flexibility because everything was different. but it was also a good opportunity to practice some of those things like leadership skills where there wasn't as much pressure. And there was a lot of like flexibility that I was able to have with how I managed my time as well.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing your experience with everybody. What I would like to do now is just open it up for questions, and myself, Julia, George, and Maya are all available. If anybody has any questions, you can either put something in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself if you have a question that you would like to ask. Did we cover everything for everybody? That's amazing. Okay, well, Julia, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I guess while we're waiting, to see if there are any other questions, Maya, I'm wondering if you could share if you would do it again, and also maybe one thing that surprised you about your experience. I think that always is kind of telling. And then maybe one thing that you wish someone would have told you before participating in the virtual internship.
Yeah, sure. So I think I definitely would do it again. I think I could learn something new if I was to do it again. Specifically like transferable skills and learning about myself. I wish someone, wait, I forgot what your second question was.
It was something that surprised you.
Oh, okay. Something that surprised me was probably how close of connections I got with my team, and we actually kind of stayed in contact afterwards. So I really enjoyed that part of it. I'm a very extroverted person, so having a good connection with the team really helped us get through any struggles that we had. I wish someone had told me how important it was to communicate very clearly about the expectations of the client, and make sure that we're on the same page about how much we can get done in a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm. And that is actually feeds into nicely about what the student question is how did you deal with asking for help if you weren't sure how to do something, and was communication ever an issue?
Yeah, so we had a mentor, which she was not associated with our client. She was just there to help us, give us feedback, and also help us through those tough moments. We were able to talk to her about any issues we had regarding our client and expectations that we were being given. And she had her own personal experiences about how to deal with those things. So she was a great person to ask for help. And I think that's mostly what she was there for. It was very easy to come to her with those questions. She was very open and receptive to meeting with us at any time to help us with those things. So that was another benefit of just the way this program was set up.
I think the next question might be more for you, Robin. The student says that she's very interested in more information on business and marketing internships. And so she's wanting to hear if there's much variety in internships specifically in that field.
Sure. The short answer is yes. There's a huge variety in internships. I am not exaggerating when I say between the six organizations that we work with, the 6 providers, there are literally thousands of companies that they work with, and huge array of internship opportunities. I wouldn't be able to get into the specifics of them because, as I said, they are all individually developed based on your skills and your interests, but business and marketing is very popular and a relatively easily transferable internship to become virtual. So there are lots and lots of options. And actually, I don't know if this student is in Poole, but they are highlighting specifically 2 programs that they're encouraging their students to be a part of. Off the top of my head, I cannot remember which 2 those are, but I do remember which ones
I think it's Kappa and CIS abroad are the
Yeah.
2 that they're highlighting. And then I think also CRCC Asia might be a 3rd.
So,
but definitely Kappa and CIS abroad.
Yeah. So if you happen to be in Poole, then I would definitely recommend you speaking with the office there about how they're looking at setting up these internships, because they have some specific details for their students. If you are not in Poole and you're just interested in business and marketing, if you're majoring someplace else, yeah, there are a lot of options out there for that particular kind of internship. Any other questions?
I kind of wanted to reiterate that this type of experience is meant to complement your NC State studies. So you would continue with your studies in the spring semester, and this could be an additional opportunity for you to really internationalize your NC State experience, especially in this unique time, to make connections, as Robin said, with employers around the world, and really to hone your cultural competence and your work experience or your work competencies as well. And then noticing how many of you were mentioning summer, I think it's also valuable to highlight that we are working on some summer in-person opportunities, and we're going to continue to offer these virtual opportunities for this coming summer and likely into the future. But just wanted to kind of throw that out there as well, that in the summer, you're welcome to do a virtual internship like the ones that we've highlighted here today. And then again, we're making some new in-person experiences as well, and including an internship program in Prague that Robin has been developing. And then we'll also be announcing a number of other study abroad opportunities for summer 2021 in January. But we've kind of been slowing that rollout as we've been waiting to gather more information and working on pivoting program options for the coming summer, keeping in mind the new environment that we're in.
And we thank you for highlighting that. And yes, we will have more information about the Prague internship coming out there. If you go to the NC State Prague website, there is information up already. We've actually got a couple of students already applying for that program. So that is something to keep in mind for coming up in summer 2021. We did get another question that came in, so I just want to bring that one up. If you were to make a mistake, what are the types of repercussions or consequences of that while doing your internship? For example, a missed deadline, or your work was just not up to their standards. That's a really good question. Just like in any work experience, there are standards that are set between you and your supervisor, and that's one of the reasons that communication is so important, and those weekly check-ins. So you will have goals set for what you're trying to accomplish. But as Maya mentioned, it's not always so clear exactly what can be accomplished and how it can be done. So it is a learning experience for both you and the employer. And nobody is looking to punish anybody. It's a way for you to gain experience and to learn how to manage projects. So obviously things go specifically by whatever supervisor and company you're working with. But if you are working toward the goals that you've set and you're meeting the contract that you would sign about what your objectives are, that's really what we're trying to accomplish. So nobody expects an intern or anybody else to be perfect 100% of the time, and mistakes are how you learn. So look at this as an opportunity to gain those work skills and to make those mistakes so that you can grow in your professional experiences. I'm going to do just a quick wrap up, but if anybody thinks of any more questions while we're doing this, feel free to add those in. So I think Julia put this in the chat as well, but if you go to Virtual Global at NC State, that will take you to the study abroad site that includes both the virtual internship experiences as well as the virtual global exchange. And you can click into either one of those to learn more about what those program options are. And make sure that you are talking with your academic advisor about that course credit, what you can earn, and what your internship needs to entail to earn that credit before you move too far forward. Then your next steps are, like I said, you can speak with me about general information, how to make a decision between different companies. I do have a guide about different countries that they're located in, not so much different types of internships because the range of them is huge, and most companies can find you just about anything you might want to do. There are some things like medical related things that are much more limited virtually, but certain things can be done. And one of the things that I do recommend when you're speaking with the providers is that you keep an open mind. So Maya had mentioned this as well. She went in thinking she really wanted to do one kind of thing, but got a little bit of a different internship, but was able to shift some of her work to accomplish what she wanted to, but also learn some new skills. And this is a great learning opportunity for you. You may not get the exact type of internship you wanted, but it may end up being the best one for you. So when you're working with those program providers, keep an open mind about what's available and what they might recommend for you. So once you've selected your program provider and you've narrowed it down, make sure you do complete that program application with them, as well as the PAC Abroad application if you're applying for credit, so that we can make sure we have you in the system, and we can make sure we can process that transfer credit once you've completed your internship. So I think that about wraps it up for me. George, Maya, or Julia, does anybody have anything they want to add before we finish up? I got lots of head shaking no. Okay, well, I want to thank you all again for joining us today. And like I said, we will have another session on Monday if you know of anybody else who might be interested. And within a few days, we should have this recording up on the virtual exchange page. So you'll be able to review this again if you want to. And you'll see down at the bottom my contact information as well as Study Abroad. You can reach out to either one of us and we will make sure we get your questions answered. So thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing from you and hopefully seeing those applications coming in. Have a great day. Thank you.